history is made not by Mayor Bloomberg's Manhattan, but by the people of the Bronx, now just as it was made 40 years ago. So, my name is Mark Nason. I'm a professor at Fordham University. Some know me as Notorious PhD or the Chappelle Show, but we'll leave that. I want to go back 40 years, because that's how long I've been teaching at Fordham. And I'm taking the 3rd Avenue L up to the Bronx. Any of you remember the 3rd Avenue L? Before it was knocked down? And I looked outside the windows, and the Bronx was burning. Then they knocked the 3rd Avenue L down, and I took the number 4 train, and the Bronx was burning. And at the same time as the Bronx is burning, they're closing firehouses. They're shutting down the after-school programs in the Bronx schools. They're taking out the park recreation directors who ran all the sports programs in the neighborhoods, and they're cutting out the great music programs from the schools. They are writing the Bronx off for dead, and right at that time, a cultural revolution is taking place, which is going to change the world. 2 Jamaican immigrants, Cindy and Clive Campbell, are throwing parties in 1520 Sedgwick Avenue, a Mitchell Lama building, which are going to change not only the face of popular music, but of political activism. They are throwing parties where the turntables that are mixed together are creating not one song flowing into another, but a percussive rhythm that matches what is going on in the Bronx. Broken glass everywhere, the sounds of fire trucks, the sounds of police cars, the sounds of buildings burning. But young people are going to those parties to celebrate their resilience and endurance, are creating arts of dance and visual art while these parties are going on. And then they're moved to the parks using not an official plug, but the bottom of electric lights. And then they are moved to clubs in Jerome Avenue and to a PAL center on 183rd Street. And the word is going around young people in the Bronx. And the Bronx is very unusual because it has 3 cultural traditions. An African-American tradition, a Latino, largely Puerto Rican tradition, and a tradition from the Anglophone Caribbean, especially Jamaica, all mingled together. And 2 young Jamaican immigrants are the ones who make history, because they're bringing Jamaican sound system culture to the Bronx with funk and Latin music. And they start something which spreads to other parts of the Bronx and turns into the music that revolutionized world culture. So I would like to bring out revolutionaries then, so you can be the revolutionaries now to make history. Cindy Campbell, Clive Campbell, a.k.a. DJ Kool Herc.
Yes. How y'all doing? I am not Kool Herc, obviously. My name is Hypnotic, and I will actually be interviewing these 2 fine, legendary folks from the Bronx. I probably will sit. I'll sit that way you can be here and I can see both of you. Musical chairs. Okay, great. So it is definitely, I want to just say really quickly, this is my honor as you 2 certainly created the foundation for a culture that is my life. You know, it is the way I dress, the way I speak, and the music that I do. So I appreciate you greatly, and I think a lot of people in this audience feel the same way. So I really I really want to get into what was the origin of the first party that really set off the legacy that we're at now. How did it happen? And then we'll get into a couple other questions.
Action.
And then I will ask you.
The first party started, it actually was a back to school party. It was time to go back to school, and I was looking for money to buy clothes at Delancey Street. So I had, how am I going to do this? I'm working for the neighborhood youth corps, not making that much, but I was able to organize the party by going downstairs in the building and asking them how much it is to rent the place. So they said it was $25, but the parents have to sign for it. And I said, well, I'm a daddy's girl, I can get my dad to do it, which he did. And that's how the whole thing really started out, organizing it, getting the flyers done. The flyers were done on index cards. They were handwritten. I'm going out to cleaning up the recreation room. Who's going to play the music? Herc had all the equipment inside his room. And I said, well, to cut my costs, you'll DJ for me. So he did that. We were able to buy hot dogs and sodas. I wanted to make sure when people came to the party, everything was taken care of for them. Pretty much was really organized and thought about, not only for myself, but everybody else that was coming, my friends. And when it did happen, it was a success. And Herc played, and he never went back in his room.
Certainly, exactly. I feel free to go. So, that does bring us to, give us a little feeling of what was the reception early on with how this new vibe that you were bringing in terms of that first party?
First of all, I gave it to my father, and he's the one that would train my ears. He said, Clive, when you hear music, he was telling me that's a good bounce. That's how he was describing good music to me. That's a good bounce.
That's a good bounce.
That's a good bounce. And that stuck with my ears, training. And I was, at the time, was heavy into graffiti writing with a couple of guys called the Ex-Vandals. That was in Phase 2, 90163, Clyde 183rd, Stay High, Ultra Cool, and a couple more. The list goes on. But those are the guys I ran with, and Uncle Rich. And I called myself, at the time when I first got here, they couldn't pronounce my name. So, the closest thing they could come to is a guy called Clyde Walker Fraser.
My favorite player.
So I said, you could call me Clyde, that's good. And it went on from that and started to pick nicknames. And from the nickname came, it was a cartoon on television, Hercules and the Centaur. And I liked Hercules. But a lot of nicknames tried to stick on me, and I didn't like it because I was playing aggressive basketball. So they tried to call me Samson, Cyclops, and any outrageous intimidation name, which I didn't like it, know me for me, So one guy started calling me Hercules, and I tell him, stop calling me that, and he kept on calling me. I know what he meant, So I asked the block, I picked the name Kool. It was a commercial way back in England, a cigarette called Silver Thin. And it was a James Brown type of thing, Aston Martin, black little shades on. And she reached over, touched a cigarette, stopped the car, told her to get out. And I thought it was cool to tell as a kid. Right now, I'd be getting bashed for that, if I do that. So that was the past. So I took the name Kool for picking nicknames. So when the guy started calling me Hercules in high school at Anthony Smith, I'd tell him, stop calling me to the block saying, I said, what's the shortening for Hercules? They said, Herc. I said, I like that. It represents power. I'm not taking the whole name of Hercules. So I said, call me Herc. He said, all right, Herc, no problem. And ever since that, called me Herc. And my father started calling me Herc, so I was no more described anymore. So it was Herc. And then between the block and high school, I put the two names together, Kool Herc. And the graffiti, trains, buses, and all that type of stuff was getting out of hand. My father's a mechanic. / bodybuilding, so I didn't want to get smacked around by them type of hands. So when she asked me to play the music, it was time for me to get off the wall and let people know who this mysterious guy was. So they came, I was into my dancing and the puzzle, and at a place called the Tunnel on 161st Street in the Grand Concourse Hotel. And that's when my music started coming from my ears by a guy named John Brown, who was school with me. He used to be the DJ in the shadow. You know, and the time I ended up on the Grand Concourse. And when City asked, it was a time for me to get the curiosity of what it was, and it came down, saw my music playing, I played my music. I took the commercial of the train. It was commercial, and the back of it is all clear, so we use that as posters and put them in Taft High School when I was going to Taft.
So that first party, before that, you were already rocking as a DJ. You were already doing.
I love my music. I was going to party. After we started bombing the trains in different places, all the graffiti guys would meet up at the puzzle at 163rd Street. Whoever did get caught would let us know who got caught and stuff like that. We meet up there. And we was all dancers. And music can cloud with our ears, you know, all of us. Sweet Duke, El Marco 174, you know, all of us.
So in some great way, you guys set off all of the elements of hip hop because you were all doing it before it was ever called hip hop.
We never named it.
Right. We're just doing it.
We do our thing. Everything is a follow. You just don't come in the party, start no trouble. Right. You got any problem with anybody, whoever be concerned with it, take it down the block. Don't hang in the building, don't go upstairs. And all I got was, you got it, Herc. And the whole thing was built on respect. And kids dancing out my window when I was paying in my house. The whole thing was based on kids. And kids haven't got it back. All that splurge and carrying on, the rings and everything else, and the slackness and stuff, it giving kids a false image of hip hop. It wasn't about that. It was founded by kids. I was just a guy playing the music. When they asked me to play the music, I gave it to them.